So my plan in this video is just to give a quick overview of what I've learned about design throughout my creation of this project through the problem-based learning task. So this video is going to be going at the end of my portfolio, and basically I'm just going to flick through some slides here that I think explain what I've learned about design through completing this task. So the first slide I want to show you is my design journey. Now this might look like an absolute ball of lines and no real clear path, but that's what design is. That's what design is for everybody, and it's very hard to actually realize that for me anyway, until I've completed the design and then I actually looked back and said, okay, so in this part I did look at my initial ideas, and then initial ideas I jumped all the way to investigation, went back to analysis of what I've just investigated. Do I need them? Then I went off and done an experiment, and from experiment you could go back right again into investigation then and analyzing it. So it's a bit crazy. So just with this one, what I've started off in, I actually started with I think I started with the blue lines. I went from my need finding to research to investigation, or research to analysis to initial ideas to analysis. Then I went from analysis back to my need finding. So this is where I swapped off to the orange line. Then orange keeps on going, and you get the idea. And for me, something that I found quite interesting is the fact that experimentation, there was a point where I literally went bang 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 and hit off experimentation 4-5 times in a row, and you can see that in my portfolio with my different models and my different experiments that I took part of. So what I've learned about design through the creation of this portfolio is the fact that there is no written way to design. There's no step-by-step plan, and as a future educator, that's going to be very difficult to teach children, or teach students that. And the only way I can imagine doing it is using like a scaffolded system, like has been explained to us before, and then setting tasks in, like Vygotsky says in the likes of the zone of practical development, where at the beginning, if we're making a project, I'll have really structured what the students will be doing. Like I'll have made the project basically and said, right, we want to design somewhere now. I don't know, say I'm making a little boat. We could say to the students, right, I have the boat and the propulsion made. You're going to design the cabin. Some people initially look and say, oh, that's not very much design, not an awful lot of freedom for the students. But at the beginning, that's all that a student is actually capable of, and it's up to them then to see how far they take that design. And it's that then that we as teachers actually try and promote and encourage, because you can't teach design, you can only just develop from where a student is. So as you can see here, just working our way through, quick overview of the portfolio. These are some of the experiments I was talking about, and my models are part of my experiments. There's more models. Yeah. So there is things out there that can help with design, and I'm definitely going to use the likes of this, the likes of the design heuristic cards when I'm out teaching. I think it'd actually be a very good way to help students break down their project and say, okay, how can I design to make sure I'm not wasting material? As well as using the design heuristic cards, something that I think would actually be very interesting to use, and students have a real interest in now, is global warming and climate change. And we can bring all that back into our woodwork room. So just like this design heuristic card is saying here, the use of repurposed materials and recycling. So design a project literally based around using old materials. That just gives the student a whole other challenge, but it's a context that they're actually interested in now, because they realize that the future isn't our problem. The future is their problem, and it's our mistake. And that's something that students are actually very interested in. I couldn't believe it when I was on teaching practice, how common that conversation was coming up. Yeah, so this was just a quick overview of what I've kind of learned about research and design and investigation. So my main things to take from this is there is no given path, and that when you actually look back to see the path you took, there's no clear route whatsoever. Every single person's one of these is going to look different, but the whole idea is to be able to nurture this as a teacher and explain to students that just because you prefer to make a model and this other person over here prefers to just sketch or use SolidWorks doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It's all to do with how you learn, which is something I think is very interesting, especially when you look at the likes of, say, dyslexia and the way people learn differently. this is something that is almost considered in schools. Well, kids themselves can have an idea of themselves that, oh, if you're dyslexic, you learn different, there's something wrong. Whereas with design, everybody designs differently. That's just something that I like to think about. Thanks very much.